Do I let a judge or another body dictate to me what the outcome should be? Or do I want to be involved in creating a process that will allow for the full understanding of my side, their side, the third side, and find a way to maximize outcomes? This is the wisdom that conflict resolution offers to those who are interested in building peace and promoting peaceful resolution. And it's happening because the numbers are increasing. It's not going to happen overnight, but just in short 10, 15 years, we've seen massive changes in the ways that individuals get a divorce, deal with a family matter, handle a workplace dispute. Things are changing. So what you need to think about then is how can you help yourself on the inside, like you have through this book. What's your own personal source of inspiration, peace, etc.? And then where can you be of service? How can you offer that externally? And just having a knowledge that not just you, not just her, not just him, but that the whole room is actually going through the same process provides comfort and provides continued inspiration so that all of you can continue to do the things that you need to do.
Thank you.
I thank you for that question. I had the delightful opportunity before this lecture to meet with about 10 to 15 of the young people who are actually very, very intelligent, capable, and already doing what they need to be doing, who are attending university through SGI or who are involved in their youth dialogue program. And I think that at that level, you have a frustration of thinking, there's so much energy, dedication, desire. How do you channel it? How do you find the appropriate opportunity for you? And I know for myself, when I was in college, I thought, I have to have a career in the field. But what I quickly found out, and as my dad was oh so quick to share with me because he wanted me to do computer science, there weren't jobs as conflict resolution mediator, negotiator. That wasn't listed in the newspaper. It wasn't on monster.com, which wasn't available when I graduated. And so I had to find my own path and find things to do or find ways to bring in my passion to what my job was. And even when I went to the State Department, which was well-versed in negotiation and arbitration, they didn't have, at the time, a strong outlet for mediation, and that was a real passion of mine. So I had to continually find ways to bring in interests and passions into the places that I was, into the communities where I worked. It wasn't always there pre-made. And I think that the message for all of us, whether we are the youth or we are the less than youth but still very active, we want to find ways to create our own pathways. We can't wait for government to somehow say, aha, this is what all of you need to be doing. That won't happen, and that shouldn't happen. Instead, as colleagues and as mentors, we need to continually find ways to listen to the youth, hear what their interests are, help connect them with people who can keep them informed about opportunities, help them be strategic about how to get the opportunities they seek, provide adequate training through the formal education system, but also beyond. I think that, in Career Advice Day that we have at UCLA, we always say you have to have your mentors. And I know that for my own life, I've had numerous really wonderful mentors every step of the way. And I would not be where I was if I hadn't had those people helping guide me. So what can we do for each other? Mentor each other. And it's not always a I'm old, you're young relationship. Sometimes the mentee becomes the mentor. So I think there's a lot happening in the formal education system that I don't pretend to have full knowledge about, but in a very personal way, we all know people that we can serve as their mentor, and that's something that is a very powerful way to help people find their opportunities. Well, I think that, this has been a very touchy subject for a lot of folks, and particularly for folks in Los Angeles, because we do have a strong Jewish and a strong Palestinian and Israeli and Arab and everyone else community. So it's personal. It's not just those people over there. And when people are thinking about something from an intellectual level versus an emotional level, they have different responses. We all know that. In the field of conflict resolution, there's a concept called inattentional blindness. And studies have shown that when people are focused on an outcome, a particular outcome, that's all they can see in the face of blatant evidence to the contrary. So the classic experiment is the basketball game. As an audience, you would be asked to watch a team throw a basketball back and forth, and you would be told to count the number of passes. And in the middle of the game, they would have somebody walk out in a gorilla suit and do a dance and then walk off. And then at the end, the audience would be asked, okay, how many of you noticed anything strange? And usually less than 30% notice the gorilla. Even though then they play it again, and everyone's like, oh, why didn't I see that? And it's this inattentional blindness, literally, that we can become blinded to everything happening around the thing that we're focused on. And so when people talk politics, they often have an emotional or mental connection to an outcome. And so any information you're trying to feed in will maybe not be able to penetrate. So it's this idea in conflict resolution that we go in first to assess. Let's not assume we know all the facts or the details. Let's not assume that we know what the best course of action is. Let's ask the people involved. And in Iraq, what happened after the U.S. went in is that we had our U.S. Institute of Peace, which is a wonderful quasi-governmental agency that's dedicated to conflict resolution and peaceful pursuance of international disputes. People went in from USIP on the ground, working in the communities in Iraq, and they were able to actually retroactively understand what were the root causes of the various conflicts that were happening. And their mantra is, we need to go in using a process that will find an outcome. We're not the outcome. We don't have the predetermined outcome. And so often it's difficult when somebody's discussing politics and very convinced of a certain position to sway them. But one of the tools that we use as mediators is to ask open-ended questions. So why is that important to you? What are the reasons you think that's the best course of action? And to do it in a way that's non-confrontational, that's neutral and objective, because then it actually gets the person to think about, okay, wait, why do I think this exactly? And as I was explaining in the dialogue group before this lecture, in mediation, it starts with a position, I want X. It delves into interests, this is why I want X. And then it goes into identity. I want X because of who I am and because of what's happened to me. And once people can get to that level, they can reassess if X is really what they want. So I would just say, to the extent that you're up for an experimental mediation with the folks in the restaurant, just to go with an open-ended questions in a very open and sort of neutral manner to help them really think through, why do you think that way? Why is that the position? And they might come up with a new outcome.